Hello, and welcome to the RealRam fam. On my channel, I intend to provide you with a safe platform to discuss the intersections of your entire being, to be able to be comfortable in your own skin, in mission or position. There is no one like you, and we all have a purpose and message. I, for one, am a black woman, mother of four, a military veteran, and a wife, and a social worker, just to name a few. From my channel, I hope that you learn more about military families and social workers. Three of the social work values are my aim in each video: importance of human relationships, dignity and worth of the person, and social justice. No matter what you initially think when you hear social worker, there is more to the profession. Trust me. Stay locked in by subscribing to the channel, and be sure that you hit that notifications bell so you don't miss any new uploads. Without further ado, on to today's episode. What's up? What's going on, Real Ram fam? So today I'm going to talk with you in the month of social work. I got with me a special guest, Natasha Bancroft. And before she comes in, we're going to give her a little bit of her intro music, because you know how we like to make everyone feel welcomed. It's Billy Joel, Vienna. But then if you're so smart, tell me, why are you still so afraid? Where's the fire? What's the hurry about? You better cool it off before you burn it out. Okay, so we don't want to get copywritten, YouTube flagging us. So Natasha, thank you for coming on today. How are you?
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm great. It's the weekend, so
yes, indeed.
I'm great.
Yes, indeed. So we're gonna do a check-in. Trying to do a little bit better with that. So how has your week been, and how are you doing overall?
Great. I love to do, we have to check in. I do this with I provide supervision for an LMSW right now. And check in every week with our burnout rate, where are we at, work, home. This week was long. I am not going to lie. I'm feeling good. I'm just ready to relax. We've been go the last couple weekends, and school leading up to spring break has just been so crazy. So I am leaning into relaxation and excited to have a conversation with you. How are you?
I am doing all right. This week was very busy. As we talk more about our roles in schools, I have picked up a lot of tier 2 children, and I had some cases that I didn't. Yeah, they were challenging. Kids with imaginary friends. Well, it's not plural. One kid with an imaginary friend. One who's challenged with communicating. That one was really challenging for me, because she started like crying and falling all out of the seat. And sometimes you just want to put on mommy mode, but you can't. They're not your child.
I know.
Okay, this glare is getting on my nerves. So, all right. So, Natasha, can you tell the people where you are from and what is your birth order, if you have any siblings?
Yes. So I am from Michigan. I'm originally from what we show our hands, and I'm from the thumb of Michigan originally, which is a very rural area. And right now I live kind of in mid to northern Michigan, and again in a pretty rural area. So, for instance, in our school district, there's about probably anywhere between 12 and 1,300 students in the entire district. So, relatively small considering other settings. But so that is a little bit of where I'm from, and I love a lot of the complexities that come with small town living, and lots of barriers here, so we can talk about all of that stuff later. But in my birth order, I am the oldest child, and I have a younger brother, and we have a very strong relationship. But yes, I am the oldest daughter, also daughter to an oldest daughter. So
okay,
that is
okay.
where I am.
All right. So does the personality traits of the oldest child, does it fit you?
It has, and I would say that's something I've been spending, since I think a lot of us since COVID have had some more opportunity to stop and just kind of reflect on our own lives and our own experiences. In social work, right? Our days are just filled with the lives and complexities of other people, and I think, that was a drive from the caring, nurturing instinct in me, slash want to people please, want to help other people's problems to ignore my own. That's kind of tendency. So, um, but yeah, I'd say I fit some, and have just really been able to see some of that generational stuff as we get older, as I evolve in my career, as I evolve in my own healing journey. So yeah, it's interesting that that's something you bring up, because yeah, it's so interesting to me. And I have a lot of conversations with our students about just family dynamics and their roles as siblings and their roles as children. We
Mhm.
work with, I work with, and just hearing you say in the beginning, tier two, I mean, the range of presentation that we see in the public education system in terms of everything is kind of wild. And I think I love that. And it's kind of intense sometimes.
Yeah. So for your benefit, I am my mother's only child, and so I
Okay.
did the personality traits definitely fits me. I could be selfish, but I'm definitely like I'm responsible and caring. But I am my father's second. But for 17 years, I was the baby.
Okay.
So yeah, so it all fits me. And of course, right,
Yeah.
it all led me to social work. So yeah, it fits me much. Um, okay, so we found each other on Instagram, probably mostly through the hashtag of social work or,
Hmm.
or like be the change or something like that. So I see that she obviously she's a social worker. She's a therapist as well. So if you would like to do the rest of interviewing or not interviewing, but introducing yourself and letting the people know what it is
Oh,
that you
yes.
do and how you even got started in social work.
Okay. Yes. Yes. So that I am obsessed with everyone's kind of intro to social work story. I think it's so much a part of this career. Um, so it's kind of like, where does it start, chicken and the egg kind of thing, I think. But I think as a human, I've always just been drawn to people, particularly people who are different than me. I would say that, I was raised I went to K through eighth through a small Catholic school in the thumb of Michigan. So um, not a lot of exposure to diversity of any kind, to be honest. Socioeconomic, just the whole range, not much exposure. And so, going into high school, that's kind of when we transition to public school, so to say. And that's when, as we work in public education, I know there's an exposure to a lot of new people, different things, different issues that I just hadn't seen before. So, and this will become kind of a theme in my life, I guess, so to say. So, I met some friends and had conversations about bringing it back to family, some of their family dynamics, and essentially was exposed to the idea of domestic violence for the first time in middle school, having conversations with a friend who I rode the bus with. And, it really kind of opened my eyes to that. And then that created this fire inside of me of, well, someone needs to do something for these women who are in these relationships. And so, and around the same time, I loved watching Legally Blonde on repeat. And so I became then pretty obsessed with the idea of becoming a lawyer who would fight for women's rights and whatnot. So that kind of became my lens and my um, drive throughout high school, going into college. And then I kind of went against the grain of a lot of my friends, and I went to the farthest college university from my hometown possible, other than going to the UP of Michigan, I guess. And it was a liberal arts university. Grand Valley State University is where I got my BSW. I didn't start seeking out social work. I actually started as a political science major. So And I guess I'll just say my first couple political science classes made me realize I'm not thinking that this is the route to do what I want to do, which is to help people.
For the people, what does a political scientist do?
Well, that was essentially like a conduit to going to law school, thinking I wanted to go to law school. That was what everybody told me. Okay, if you want to go to law school, then you need to major in political science. So I was kind of just taking that route until, like I said, a couple of the classes, I'm like, this is just not jiving. The personalities weren't jiving with my internal kind of compass, so to say. So someone suggested that I go and talk to an advisor, right? That's the right thing that you do in college. And so I talked to an advisor and I just kind of said, here's what I want to do. Here's what I think I want to do anyways. I want to help these people and potentially maybe be able to like merge some sort of be involved with the legal system in some way, but maybe not as a lawyer or attorney or something like that. And so she suggested social work and took my first class, and I'm like, I am hooked completely. Learned so much, was exposed to so much. My mind just, I think there were so many like moments of, oh my gosh, this exists. I need to do with this. Right? So, and that's what I love about social work. And this is what I tell, I've had the opportunity to be a supervisor for some social work interns, which I love helping to guide and have conversations with young social workers. And, it's been through that process that I say it's like the range of what we can do in this field is you can work with mothers before their children enter this world to, infant mental health to end of life care and literally anything in between. And for my ADHD brain, I think that's another real pro for me in the field of social work. And so currently I work in public education. So my official title right now is social emotional wellness coach. And that was a title that a non-social worker made, is all I'm going to say on that. But it's a long-winded title, the titles that were given. But I'm part of our administrative team. So I work with all of our building principals, assistant principals, counselors, just really everyone in our district. It's a new role. I interviewed/hired in on the day that schools closed in Michigan for COVID a couple years ago. So that was a wild ride. And it's been quite eye-opening seeing some of the issues that have come to light since then. But prior to that, I ran a grant-funded program in our 2-county community. So we kind of serve as a 2-county community where I live here, with a lot of our resources being shared between the two. And I ran a grant-funded program where I did mental health screenings in our local schools and with our local courts, and screened for underlying mental health issues as essentially a conduit to diverting youth from the school to prison pipeline. So addressing, multiple suspensions. Well, let's do a screening here and see if there's, as we know, there always are, underlying mental health or other dynamics that are contributing to the behaviors that we're seeing. So that was really cool and it went really well. And it was kind of through that program that led me to be in the position that I'm in now. But I've also done medical social work. I've worked as an outpatient therapist for community mental health. I've also worked some direct care with severely and persistently mentally ill adults. I've done that. So I've done kind of a lot of work, but everything in our path in social work kind of leads us where we need to be, I believe, or so it really seems. So that's kind of my story.
Thank you. There were some very interesting positions you had. So I previously did a video talking about the 3 departments. Well, from my school, from USC, there's 3 departments. The family and children, the mental health, and then the community and organization department. So you went down the mental health field, obviously.
Yep. Clinical is what Michigan State
clinical
called it.
Yeah. So that position you had with the legal system, that sounds like very needed. Well, we know it's needed. It doesn't sound needed. It's a very needed. It sounds very intense. So I take it that you even work closely with like a CPS social worker?
Oh yeah, we do. in our community, our community is, we are all, and I'm grateful for it, because I know there's lots of communities, especially small communities, that don't have the resources, and everyone's kind of working in silos. I think, we come together here. I've been part of coalitions and kind of collaborative bodies for increasing our trauma awareness and resiliency building as a community, both in our individual settings. For instance, our DHHS and community mental health partnered together and we called it a resiliency alliance. And we partnered with multiple staff members, even from secretarial to clinical to supervisors to everyone kind of across the board, and worked together for about 10 weeks, and really got to know each other, got to learn, wow, we're all dealing with similar burnout, similar clients, similar issues, and similar barriers. And let's come together and realize how much we have in common. And so I guess that's a little off trail, but all to say that, yeah, it was an amazing position, and it's still running. Thankfully, the program's still running, and we've actually hired, there's 2 now. So it was me in 28 schools and 2 courthouses at once for about 3 years. So it was, I was all over the place, and it was well received, and still is well received. So, and that's part of a larger grant program in the state of Michigan. So at the time that I started, I think there was at least 12 sites across Michigan, and I think they've expanded that grant since then. Lots of data and whatnot to support that, because as we know, it's so needed. In fact, I think every building in our 2-county area could have their own individual person who just does that, screens for mental health concerns with any student who has behavioral concerns or whatnot. So it was really cool. And I got to the point where it was honestly a lot of kind of secondary trauma of, I meet with these students one time, and then I screen them, I kind of hear their story, learn their story, and then link them and their families to services in our community. So sometimes it was a little frustrating if there weren't many options available. You screen this kid, hey, there's a need, but you're going to be on a 4-month waiting list or whatever it might be. So we're definitely facing some mental health barriers. I'm not sure about what that looks like where you're from right now, but definitely seeing that here, and the issues just keep coming, and they're pretty intense. Are you what ages do you work with right now primarily?
Well, I don't have so I've only been physically inside of that school since the week of Valentine's Day.
Okay.
And so the majority of the referrals are the 3rd and 4th grade, but the school is pre-K through 5th. So I have all of them.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if you were upper L or middle school, high school. Wasn't sure where you were at.
Yep. Elementary. So, but the bulk of, so the fact that you started right before the pandemic, it's the other position. No, this position.
Yep.
The 3rd graders at this particular school, they're saying that's where they had most of the problems, was once the pandemic started. So, those 2 years, a lot of children haven't been in school since the 1st grade. And I guess that's where a majority of those problems are. So not to mention all the other stuff that went around it. All of the teachers that have quit and all that other stuff. So it's 3rd grade is where a lot of the problems are. But so I want to talk a little bit for the position that you had working with the courts. Where would you be physically located?
So how that worked was, so any new youth that came into the court system, any youth that was petitioned and had a hearing date, I would go to the preliminary hearing and offer the screen to the parents and the youth. And those meetings were, in our 2-county area, we have a pretty big diversion push right now. Our judge does not want to put all of our youth on formal probation. He wants to divert them, give them a 90 90-day period of time to be successful, and there will be nothing on their record. That's, that is a push that he has brought to our community, which I think is great, because we know a lot of the research shows that, that's really the direction we need to go. So at that time, I would offer the screening, do the screening right there while the probation officer spoke with the parents and kind of collected some background information that way. And then I was able to go back into the meeting, have a discussion with both the parents and the probation officer about, and I kind of did like a brief psychosocial, just really trying to connect with the students so they would feel comfortable asking a set of 52 questions about their mental health when maybe they've never been asked about their mental health before. And of course, they're high stress as they're in the courthouse for a meeting with the probation officer. So, in terms of therapeutic setting, it wasn't necessarily that, but I found that it was kind of a special role to be able to provide a little bit of that to the youth while they were there, and maybe explain the process in a way that was more easily understood. So and then from there, I worked at Community Mental Health at the time. So if their insurance aligned with what we took, then I was able to kind of help them get connected to that process right then and there, at least get the process started. So, was really looking to also reduce any barriers to the families actually getting into services, but also to then be able to communicate that with the probation officer and, explain to them, hey, here's where some of these issues are likely coming from, and at least give them a little bit of a head start in terms of being successful, hopefully. And it really has turned into a great partnership in our community.
Okay, so you were physically at your agency, but you would just come to court whenever they had a court date.
Correct.
And was it an automatic? Was it an automatic referral, or would a parent, like, who would know to even contact you?
We had a partnership with the courts where they would notify me of the times of the hearing, and so I would be there and present myself. And of course, the parents had the right to say, no, we don't want to participate in this, but it was highly encouraged by the probation officer. This is someone who is qualified to gather this information from your child, and it's going to help us help you and your child more, because at that point, this likely the student or child or youth had already had issues in school leading up to this, or a lot of times it wasn't and if that was the case, if it was a first time kind of mistake, so to say, and the screener didn't identify any significant mental health issues, then that's what I would report and say, well, it seems like maybe this was just kind of an impulsive teenage thing or whatever it might be. But it did open the door to more conversations, and I found that most parents were, at least here, we're pretty open to it for the most part. Did they always follow through with the recommendations? Not necessarily, but we're at least generally open to it from the beginning. So that was good.
Yeah, I don't know if that exists here in DC. So that's why I'm wondering, like, about there being a standard, as if the judge automatically did it, if the defense lawyer did it, or, if the parent had to know that it exists to ask. So, because like you said, the judge is trying to make sure that the children don't have things on their record. Supposedly that's how DC is as well. But like I said, I don't know if that position even exists, that someone is there to automatically do these assessments, So Thank you for that information. So
you're welcome.
Everyone that is watching, if you're in Michigan, or even if you're in DC and you're in the legal system, you want, or at risk of entering the legal system, you might want to check into what's the position called?
So the program here, that title is the Youth Intervention Program, is what it is titled here. But, and I can just, if you were interested, I can I'll forward you after this, the link to the actual, because it's a larger, by the Department of Michigan Juvenile Justice, it's a larger program that they're doing. So I'm sure at this point they have briefs and information. So I could share that with you if you'd be interested.
Yeah, and I see, unfortunately, we can't do links when we're recording. But anyways, so your current position. All right. So if you would remind us the title of your current position.
Yes, social emotional wellness coach.
All right. And so you do what specifically in the schools?
Well, my job is very wide ranging of things. So so my office is located in our elementary school. So and that was something that when I was hired in, we recognized that we want to, always do as much work upstream as possible. So really looking at, building our PBIS system, building those. We were able to hire a behavior interventionist last year. So she's a social worker as well, who's able to support our students with behavioral concerns, participate in. So I also, play a role in our behavior treatment teams and our functional behavior analysis teams. We have all sorts of meetings going on to support our students and what they need. Do a lot of collaboration.
Tell the parents what is PBIS?
Oh gosh, you're going to put me on the spot. Positive behavior interventions and supports, I think. So it's a school-wide, and I'm still learning all of the school acronyms and education, everything. There's a lot. There's enough in social work to begin with, and then you enter into a new system, and it's like, okay, now I got to learn all these new acronyms. So essentially, it's a school-wide system to support positive behavior. So we're looking at, posting our expectations for the hallways, for the bathrooms, for the making sure our students know what are the expectations. We have a ticket system. So if we catch kids doing good things, we can give them a ticket. And then we have like school-wide, like we've had a dance party, we've had movie day, school-wide rewards if we get so many tickets as a school. So it's really just to that's a tier 1 supports for all students to really encourage positive behavior.
And I'm writing notes.
Yeah, because it's a building, it's what you notice, and I'm sure you've noticed this just being in schools, that there are very few of us and a lot of kids, and a lot of people have a lot of things on their plates, so that's just kind of one part of my role, is really kind of supporting initiatives like that, doing as much kind of macro work with social emotional learning, positive behavior supports, and really supporting our behavior interventionists and the work that they're doing, bringing in as much trauma-informed information as we can. I've done, I do a lot of kind of educational professional development opportunities for both our staff and our students. I have the opportunity to kind of speak in some of our health classes, and I really love that part of this job, that it allows me to kind of reach a lot of kids at once, but also I also carry a small caseload where I'm more so working with, for the most part, kind of tier 3 kids who really need counseling, who may have a lot of barriers to it in the community. So providing, I do have a caseload of about 10 kids that I see on the regular, but also have kids that I'm, kind of their walk and talk buddy, or pop in and talk, just say, hey, how are things going? I also do a lot of consultation. Hopefully not in 3rd and 4th grade, but unfortunately we are seeing it kind of all across the board more, but also being kind of our district's go-to layer for suicidal risk assessments, and being part of the homicidal risk team, and, just being a part of all of those conversations, or as many as I can humanly possibly be part of. So, that's, and really working with the district to develop some protocol for how are we documenting this? How are we, are we creating school safety plans? Maybe these kids have safety plans through their, counseling, through their private therapist, but the environment looks a lot different in school than it does at home. So how are we adapting that safety plan to fit them at school? So yeah, the list is kind of long, it feels like, in terms of what my role looks like, but I do kind of well in the bouncing in many different locations. So it's okay. I enjoy it. It keeps the weeks going rather quickly. So.
Okay, so you mentioned the behavior specialist, So behavior.
Yep.
Yeah, the behavior specialist.
Behavior interventionist.
Interventionist, and it's called it here as well. Or in my school anyway, it's called that as well. But it's also known as the ISS coordinator. It's the same person, and we are on the mental health team or the behavior health, probably behavior health intervention team as well. So I work for my mental health agency, partnered with the school. And you mentioned that you work for the district, you work for the school. Could you explain for the people as best as you can, and then I'll try to fill in as best as I can. What is the difference? What do you do that I don't do, and what do I do that you don't do?
Well, I would imagine so. And we don't have somebody like you right now. We have some of our local schools do have a outside contracted therapist who comes in and provides services just in the school, and that is their role. And I think, when you look at that, I think as a school employee, that kind of allows me to be able to help in any given situation, knowing that my title is K-12. And so that gives me a little bit more freedom, right? If you were there, they're probably not going to be able to pull you in and support with this kid who needs help right in this moment because of confidentiality or consent, or, I think, and I think that just kind of does lend to a larger conversation of, this is new. Having this amount of mental health support and professionals in the school setting is new. I think schools are like, yes, give me all of it. I know we're like, any support we can get, we'll take, because it's needed. So I would say, that would probably be a different, is I'm got my hands in a lot of different pieces where, you kind of, I'm assuming, kind of have a set caseload and set of number of students that you see and are working with. Is that kind of what yours looks like?
So actually, no. And so this conversation will also help me, because I need to learn how to communicate what it is that I do to the parents and the staff. So no, the contract that my agency, so I am officially called the Community-Based Organization, CBO Clinician. That's what it's called through the district and the program, the CBO Clinician. Then my title, School-Based Therapist. So the way that it is written is that I am there to support the entire school community, to fill in the gap and shorten the wait period, right, of receiving services. So I'm there in the school building every day. So yeah. And this week there was a crisis too. But I was not called in to assist. And so I should have brought that up in supervision. But okay, so the tier 1 is me assisting the entire school. Whether it's just an email, whether it's me setting up a table, passing out pamphlets, whatever, me doing a freaking yoga class, it doesn't matter.
Yep. I love a lot of that in my role.
Then tier 2 would be me doing like a focus group. So I can pull, one student out of class and work with them individually. I could do a group, which would be a group of students, the whole classroom, me observing the classroom, or me doing, actually yoga is a group. So that would be tier 2, me doing a group, a yoga class or something like that. And then the tier 3 is the individual, but they are an actual client of my agency, meaning that their parents has filled out all the consent forms. That's the main difference between a tier 2 and a tier 3 individual session. So yeah, so there was a crisis this week, and like I wasn't called in to assist, and I don't know why, because it's just like you mentioned about confidentiality and all of that stuff. I don't know why, because
but knowing that you're a part
crisis,
of,
the school crisis plan, the first step says to call all the mental health people that are in the building. So maybe they did not call me because, one, they haven't gotten used to having a clinician in the building. It could also be because they know that that person isn't a official client of mine. Or also, what I have been learning with my specific school is that they really try to separate their DBH duties and responsibilities versus what the contractor is doing. So if you could possibly help me and any parents watching understand that if they do have a school that has a third-party clinician in the building, what is the fine line that the contractor would do versus those who work for the school? What is the district social worker, the district therapist there to do that the third party clinician cannot do or shouldn't do? Does that question even make sense? Is it clear?
I mean, I think I'm with you. I think ultimately it just leads to the door for more communication and clarifying that, because I mean, I can tell you when I stepped into this role, there was essentially no job description, right? Like the school knew, okay, we've got this funding available through our ISD, and we want that. We want to be able to have a person who's going to be, and they could have, my school district could have said, nope, you're only going to be in the elementary school, or you're only going to be in the middle school. You know, there was a lot of discretion on behalf of kind of the district. They could really, you know, define that. And, you know, what you said about maybe they just haven't gotten in the habit, I think there's a lot of merit to that when it comes to this, because last year my first, and you said you just started, right? February. So yeah, you know, I think about last year and there was a lot of situations that I'm like, I'm here, why am I not being pulled into? And I, you know, there was some anger that ended up kind of resulting because of that. And that just meant I needed to ask that question. I needed to say, hey, why? I'm just curious. Why was I not? Did you feel like you had a hand? You know, then it opens the door to just more conversation and clarification. I've had lots of conversations with our superintendent, who is my direct supervisor. Yep. So, and that is, you know, so yeah, your direct supervisor is likely through your agency. And so, yeah, how is that? Where's that communication coming between administration at the school, your administration, and then who you really report to? You know, that is where I think it just becomes more and more conversation and clarification, so that if they have an LMSW who is there and ready, or are you LCSW?
No.
Okay.
Here it's called LG, which is the same as you.
Okay. Well, you have a master's level social worker at your disposal. And yeah, if you feel like, hey, I do have some skills in crisis management or whatever that might look like, depending on the situation, maybe that would be a really good fit for you. Also, I'm not sure.
Even just to observe, you know?
Yeah. And be able to give some feedback, some, whether it be trauma informed or just whatever feedback. But also, I'm not sure. Do you guys do much like restorative justice work in your buildings? Do you know? Is that something that y'all are?
I do not know. However, I had an incident. A child took something from my office, and this was just this week. And so because I had seen the person for the first time, you know, I was like, I'm not going to involve the principal just yet. I let the teacher know and asked her to let the parent know. And because the child did not return that item the next day, then I informed the principal. And she was asking about restorative. So then this, and also, so when I let the teacher know the first time, I included the behavior. What did I say he's called? The behavioral, the ISS coordinator. And so I ended up ultimately talking to him in the end. And so he did let me know what the procedures are, the processes, and he showed me the referral form, and they do fill out like letters, little
Okay.
reflection
Mm-hmm.
sheets and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So yeah. And then that's another thing too of learning what's the fine line of things. He and I had another conversation. So I can understand his role versus my role, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because not everything is, I think, a disciplinary thing. I'm looking at these kids all day walking up and down the halls and they're constantly being pulled out of class. And I wonder, is that a thing at your school as well? All day kids are being pulled out of class, whether it's by me, by him, by the literacy coach, the math coach, whatever. All day long, kids are being pulled out of class. I did not know that was, I didn't know that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But he told me his role is an immediate correction, whereas mine, of course, would be more long-term work. So wherever the kid like walked out of class without asking, that's when they call him. Or
Yep.
like they were hitting. That's when they call
Right.
him. And
He
he
puts
said
out the
that it is
fires.
within a 2-day window. So he could also, I could be seeing him today, but he's responding to something that happened yesterday. So it's immediate within 2 days. Whereas they're gonna ask me for something that's more long term. So
Right.
is
He's
that
putting
how
out the
you see
fires.
it?
I mean, he's putting out the fires. You are helping them build the skills to put out their own fire, essentially. That's,
Yeah, but see
kind of.
yeah. But my inquiry would be, how come that's not also what the CBO clinician is for, unless that's what the school social worker is for? Because
Yeah.
we have 2 social workers and we also have a psychologist.
Okay.
But it seems like, and I spoke to the psychologist too, he and I had a sit down session. Seems like the psychologist is there mostly for like assessments and observations. And when I speak to the social worker, it's like she's there more for monitoring and controlling behavior, not for like working one on one. Like hers is also seeming to be more long term. So is that how you're understanding things to be in your position as working for the district, and how things are in your school?
I would say there's definitely some overlap. Yeah, for sure. We work with we have some ISD, so special education social workers and psychologists who are often embedded in our buildings as well. So, there's always going to be some overlap because some of our kiddos who have special education support services, their social worker isn't always in our building. So, of course, we're providing some of that support that's on their IEP as well. And we do a lot of tag team kind of stuff of, okay, this is going to kind of primarily be your role. This is going to be primarily my role, but we have to be willing to be flexible at any given time to fit the need that's at hand, essentially, is kind of how we operate most days.
Okay. Well, you work for the district. Okay. So finding out if the needs are being met and how it's being done, is it designed properly and stuff like that. Who in the school are you speaking to?
Everybody. I mean, our assistant principal, our principal, our behavior interventionist, classroom teachers. I mean, I'm really trying to do a lot of work as a district employee to empower our behavior interventionists, as well as empower them to empower our teachers to be social emotional learning leaders, because the more that our teachers are embedding the skills that we teach individually, the more they're embedding those conversations in the work that they're already doing, the more skills that are going to be built on a larger scale. So, I'm doing kind of some macro work that trickles down to micro work and conversations with teachers and conversations with staff, but, trying to create that atmosphere of both trauma-informed practices, just seeing kids and meeting them where they're at and being aware of your environment, being aware of the conversations that you have with students, being aware of what they're mood looks like on any given day, and being, empowering our teachers to build their own skills. So I would see, your role being a little bit of that too, coming from a community place. You have some of that knowledge and skills that other people in the district don't have. And so, how can I weave in that at any given time that's going to help, hopefully, the overall culture. So that's always kind of in the back of my mind as well. I don't know if that was an answer to your question or not, but that's where my mind
you
went.
answered it. You answered it, and it sounds like you're equivalent to the person here. I don't know what her position or title is either, but it sounds like you're equivalent to the person who gave us the training, like all of us, the school-based therapists and whatever, the training on our position. And she works for the city, for the district. I don't know. But she works for DCPS. She works for DCPS. And she's the point of contact for our clearances. That's where she works. She has something to do with us being cleared to enter the school. So do you have any hand in that at all?
I don't think so. I mean, our behavior interventionists, they report to the principals. But
no,
I serve as
your position.
My position?
Yeah. You have any hand in dealing with people and their clearances and then provide the training to the people?
It doesn't sound like it. Okay. I don't think so, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. I don't have a flow chart of how that stuff works, but
coming in from, like meshing or merging systems, coming from a community mental health system and learning all of that, to then coming into the, and I did not have a school social work designation or anything like that before coming into the schools. I definitely was more clinically focused. So I'm glad that my role allows me to still kind of carry a caseload and do that work, because that's what I'm, really passionate about.
Or actually, you might be holding the position that my previous supervisor is applying for, because she said that she's going to be she's trying to work for the district, but a principal is going to have to accept her into the school. And she's going to be on the board, like creating these systems. So I think that's what, I'm going to make sure she watches this interview. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's exciting. I think schools are welcoming this perspective. There's so much research that shows that, we have to infuse vulnerability. We have to, and these are little humans with complicated lives and complicated presentations that we are also trying to educate in a world where sitting in front of one human being and learning is really difficult for a lot of our kids. And so I think schools will be welcoming more. I think we have to. I think that, our at least that's my perspective, because and I think, I'm sure you've had, you said, I wasn't even aware that there's so many pullouts, and I've had so many of those moments working in the education system of like, wow, okay. And then, having conversations with these kids, and it's like, this is one kid in a class of 20, and, mom and dad just went to jail last night, and now they're going to their aunt's house tonight. And that's something that I have to prepare them for. And I don't think I was going to be ready for that, but here we are, and you got to do it. And our kids need us. So I think that, it's a blessing, and it's a lot sometimes too, but
it's a lot, because previously with me working telehealth with the adult, right? That's the story has already been written, they're already gone through it. But catching them in elementary, is needed. How can you be that extra safe person for them, but yet, because I'm not an employee of the school. Like I had a little girl come in this week, and she was upset, so she wanted to come talk to me because I let her know that that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
But she said that particular teacher would not let her come talk to me, which of course upset her even more. She's like, I know that this person exists. I want to go talk to them. And she's like, and I don't even know who that is. Made her even more upset. So it's like, wow. If they're trying to get the help, they want the help. And just like you said, you don't know what's going on in that little girl's life, right?
Yeah.
And how can you help? But then you got this extra person in their life who's adding to the pressure. Right? She was upset, or she was tired. She came to school tired, right? And she's not able to function. And then you're gonna try to force her. She can't work. You're making it even worse. And she's trying to go get this, this time, and you're just making it worse. Now just imagine that throughout the whole rest of the day. More and more teachers are telling you what to do, forcing you to do this, saying you're doing that. Now you're having poor interactions with your peers and your friends. Oh, well, now they're going to call the ISS coordinator on you because now you're arguing and fighting, or possibly just walking out of class.
Right. Trying to, that's a conversation around so many things. It's like basic needs, right? We have so many kids who come to school and they're glued to a tablet until 1 a.m. and then they're expected to walk to school and then function. And, we've got lots of nappers, and that's okay because it's basic needs, and I think helping, and that's where, hopefully this conversation will lend to more conversations for you with teachers of being able to say, hey, I do exist. And, and just planting those little seeds of our basic needs. Learning is a higher level experience for our brain. If we're not fed well, if we didn't have enough sleep, and if we haven't drank our water, we're not going to be able to do that next level. And then we have the pressures all over and no idea what's happening at home, and this square in their pockets that's changing their brains all at the same time. It's like, it's a lot, and I think our role is helping some of the educators understand and really, unfortunately, and I say this to a lot of our students, like, no, my mental health is not validated. No, I did not know this information. I didn't really know that anxiety existed until I became a therapist and had to take a hard look at my own behaviors and realize, wow, I've been carrying and coping with some things in some healthy and not so healthy ways. And, to be able to give this information to our kids when they're 10 and they can understand, like, oh, I can regulate my body. I don't have to sit in this uncomfortable state my entire life, is powerful, is really powerful. So those are the things I come back to when I am not having a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah. When everything seems like a mountain. So.
Yeah. And you gave me some. But in case that wasn't enough for others, do you have any last comments or a last little nugget that you would like to drop for the viewers? So maybe just something you learned.
Yeah. Oh, well, learned lots of things. Well, one thing I would say is, like, in spirit of Social Work Month, if you know a social worker, ask them about their job. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them anything and see where that conversation goes. Because, social work opened the door to me learning about things that I wouldn't have probably sought out had I not been a social worker, right? And now I've been able to share that knowledge, and maybe sometimes a little too much, but can we advocate too hard? I don't think so. So here we are. I mean, that's, it's allowed, this space has allowed me to be extra in all the ways that I like to be. So, I think that would be just number one in spirit of Social Work Month. But, and I guess just my mantra this year is just, one day at a time, and really trying to just enjoy the present moment. Like, I'm so grateful to have had this conversation, and, talking, using our voice, owning our story, learning about other people's stories is why we're freaking here. That's what this is about. It's not to build the biggest, I don't know, I'm horrible with metaphors. That's not my forte as a therapist, but that's become my thing, is just being bad at metaphors. So, but it's social work has opened my eyes to so much, and I just love the work that we do, love conversations like this, and that's good for the soul too. I'm feeling like revived already. So, yes.
Yes, me too. Okay, so my question. If we were at your house and you were serving us breakfast, and you know what? And I don't think I told you, and to new viewers, that I'm a Midwest girl as well, from Illinois, raised in Kansas.
Okay.
So I hope you get this question right, although there's really no right or wrong. So we're at your house and you're serving us breakfast. Are we having pancakes or are we having waffles?
Well, if you don't know this about me, but you know it now, my probably top 3 comfort experiences food is my dad's homemade waffles. So I am a waffle person, and that's my official answer on that. So I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's a pretty staple in my comfort food repertoire. So
it's your answer.
Yeah, okay, there we go. That's fine.
All right. So I would like to, before we go, first of all, thank you for joining me and Happy Social Work
You're
Month.
welcome.
Would you like to drop your information on how people can find you?
Sure, yeah. So and I'll just do a quick, so we connected over Instagram. So on Instagram, it's at free.the.feels. So free the feels is kind of my little mantra, and my, just the concept that talking about how we're feeling as shame-free as possible is good for us. It's okay. It's what makes us us. So that's, that's a movement in my brain that it's what I believe in. And so at free.the.feels. So yes, thank you for allowing me to share that.
Yep, thank you. And with that, we're going to go to the outro. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I would like to thank my guests for joining me, or simply thank you for watching the pre-recorded episode. No matter what your birth order is, how you self-identify, and whether you like pancakes or waffles. If this is the first time you're hearing it today, I want you to know that you are loved. You were put here for a purpose that only you can fulfill. Until next time, take care of yourself. Be sure that you like and share the videos, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notifications bell. This is RealRam